Hello, Exiles. I am here at it again, the beginning of a new season, and seeing all the new gem changes and Wildwood Ascendancies made me interested to experiment with something within the new league. Thought I'd share a video with some of my deliberations around my current league starter. It's a Warden-based Power Siphon build, probably with Deadeye. And off the bat, I think those that have read the Power Siphon changes may be worried about its single target viability. Previously, barrage support could enable it to be a pretty competent single target DPS skill. But we are likely losing that capability, so I can't really sell this to be a good league starter idea. I'm just going on a little journey, and if you're interested in seeing what I have to say in some of my progression in the future, give a like and comment and subscribe and keep watching. So we're gonna go a little bit backwards. I'm gonna start with the Wildwood Ascendancy. For Oath of the Magi, a lot of the times people aren't really utilizing all of their sockets. Well, it really depends on the build that you have, but I've attempted to really narrow down the amount of gems that we really need for this build. So I'm trying to put everything on Power Siphon, and I really don't know if it's gonna work. Worst case, we'll just switch to Deadeye or try another build. As of me recording this, I'm intending to get both the 25% max life and the 30% move speed. So Tinctures are pretty interesting addition for any sort of weapon-based build. I'm assuming that they work for ranged weapons like wands and bows. If not, I'm probably gonna have to reroll. However, we do know that Nature's Concoction is like a pretty tasty ascendancy to work with. It's going to give us essentially 100% uptime on 2 flasks of our choice that also have 30% increased effect. So this is something really nice to pick up. And then lastly, we're probably going to just go with Barkskin. I really want to make this work because none of these other things look very interesting. I looked at the notes for this skill. It's like a 25% reservation skill that partially gives armor, partially gives a void, depending on how much you get hit. At the moment, I have it configured here, and then I'm going to have this basically just to apply to the 2 flasks that we get with the Nature's Concoction. Tinkering with maybe like Ascendant or Assassin, but I just decided to go Deadeye because I think it's easy to pivot if the build doesn't work quite to our favor. Early on, you can take Gathering Winds. I think this is most Deadeye's first take, and then after that it's like pretty flexible. You can take like Ricochet if you need clear, you can take Farjot if you want the damage, and then Focal Point will help you more on those tougher monsters. So for the skill tree, I'm just gonna go roughly in the order that I'll progress in. So I'm gonna go up here, we'll go down, take Heart of Oak. This is important for stun immunity purposes. We'll also probably want to take Primal Spirit. The stats on this are just like way too good. And then we'll path over to Intuition and then get Herbalism here. This is pretty much all we do on the bottom here. Then we'll round up, go get Charisma. Oops, that's not the right way. We're gonna go up this way to get Revenge of the Hunted. You don't need to take this immediately, it just depends on whenever you feel like it. Piercing Shots is a very good take for just extra clear. We'll take Blood Drinker, and then you pretty much want to path like almost right away to these wand nodes. In between, you can take stuff like Arcing Blows. We're going to do a lot of lightning damage, Retin Blood, Influence. Arcane Sanctuary, we do eventually want to take, but it doesn't need to be taken early. And then you'll go over to these big 3 power wand nodes. All the wand masteries are actually pretty good. I think the earliest one you probably want is either Leech or the Accuracy. You can get Leech earlier on this side of the tree, but I'm just going to take it here instead. Then we can keep pathing over to get the power charges. I just realized I forgot to get the one over here. You can take this jewel socket as well. This mark cluster is also a pretty good take. It's not super required early on, but you will eventually want to get it. And then we'll go over to Prism Weave. I think both of these sides are fine. I'm going to go with the accuracy and the attack speed, and then you can take another Wand Mastery. If you do get Crown of Eyes, you don't really need this at all. But before then, you can opt to take it, or if you just are in SSF and like you can't find a Crown of Eyes, then it's a very good node to take. For us, we're just gonna go with intelligence added. After that, we can just round out a little bit, get a little life. You can get Disciple of the Forbidden, and then if you're having a little bit of mana issues, which we may have early on before Bubonic Trail, then I think this mana reservation mastery is quite good. That is pretty much the end of maps, I would say. From this point, it's like pretty flexible in terms of how you want to progress as you go into the maps. I'll probably go over to this side and take the Purity of Flesh and the Sovereignty. I currently have Overcharge allocated, but if you don't have it allocated early, you can always go for this. So after about level 92, this is what I have on the tree. Basically, we added the Jewel Socket here. We took this extra spell suppression area. We rounded out some of our reservation masteries, and then we basically just pathed over to get Sovereignty, Overcharge, this Jewel Socket, and Purity of Flesh. It's not super necessary for you to go onto the side of the tree, to be honest, because like Overcharge is like the most important node here. You can just anoint it, but early on I feel like this is totally fine to take. So for gems, in our body armor we have the Power Siphon, of course, the namesake of the build. You want to get this to higher quality as soon as possible. It is a very good quality. And then we'll take Added Lightning. Volatility I never played with actually, because I don't think it was out the last time I played a Wander, but it's very good in conjunction with like lightning based attack builds. And then I have elemental damage with attacks, but to be honest, like inspiration and crit damage, like they're all pretty comparable. In the eventual setup that I want, which is Shroud of the Lightless, we will only have 5 links anyway. The last link will just be like a pseudo elemental penetration link based on the Shroud of the Lightness wording. In our helmet or gloves, depending on whether you want the life or the res, we have Grace and Wrath. And then precision up to about how much we need to maintain the 100% crit chance. So in our case, it's 6 here. I have Herald of Ice allocated. You may allocate this if you want early before Barkskin, depending on when we get the last ascendancy parts of the Warden. But this is here just kind of as a placeholder reservation for Barkskin, which is also 25% mana. Dropping it does not decrease our damage by that much, but it helps a little bit with just like adding cold, which sort of is like a defensive layer, as well as just adding like a little bit of nice comfort clear damage as well. Eventually you can probably add Enlighten here and drop this. And then early on, if you don't feel comfortable with ailments and stuff, you can use Purity of Elements instead of Grace. On our weapon or offhand, you can run Mark on Hit with Sniper's Mark. Eventually you can go get the Enhanced. I just don't have it ticked here for the early game, but this is like a very natural setup for most projectile based builds. On the other slot, this is actually the last 3 slots we have if we want to keep our other parts empty, is going to be just 3 utility skills. I have picked out Frostblink for, you know, teleportation, cross cliffs, and just general movement. Blood Rage, this is to give us some frenzy charges. You might be able to find it other ways, but I think this is the easiest way to get it for the most part. And then whatever guard skill of your choice. I think Immortal Call or Steel Skin are both fine in this setup. I don't have it ticked just to not inflate the effective hit pool, but we'll probably just put it on our left click because I'm lazy. And then as mentioned, we don't have anything in our boots and gloves. This is just so that we do get the extra move speed. You can see our modifier is at 66%. This is what I have picked out for like approaching early game maps. I will be playing in a trade league, but I tried to make the gear like as SSF-ish friendly as possible. If you can't get like a Piscator's, which is what we're going to be aiming for later on, then just some sort of like imbued wand with lightning damage, crit ability. spell damage if you have Crown of Eyes. These are all pretty good affixes to take. On the offhand, just run a shield with suppressed damage. You can also opt for like a energy shield with spell damage as well if you want to go a little bit higher on the damage end, and then just life and resistance. Same thing for most of these armor pieces. And then again for the amulet, currently I'm pathing over to the overcharge node, so we don't need this on our anoint. You can do something cheaper like Wand Slinger. I think is a very good node to take. You can also path to it as well. It's pretty close, and then you can find something else. For the Abyss Jewels that you'll want, you pretty much want all Searching Eyes if you can. But the most important thing is to get something with a chance to avoid being stunned. This alongside a permanent uptime flask, I'm putting it on quartz. This gives us 50% plus chance to avoid being stunned. That alongside our Heart of Oak setup will basically give us stun immunity. And then the rest of the tree I'm just rounding out with as many Searching Eye Jewels as possible. These are, you know, a little bit ideal, I would say. They're not 4 mod, but they're not exactly easy to find either. If you can just find, you know, 1-2 mods without the life. And then there's a bunch of bonus mods that you can take that are like really useful. Crit multi is really nice. Blind on hit is really nice. You could also go over here to get blind on hit as well. And then for the flasks, you basically want everything to have the modifier for a chance to gain flask charges when you deal a crit strike, because this is a crit build. Leave one of the flasks empty. This is going to be whatever tincture you have. I'm just hoping there's going to be some good ones. I chose to use a granite flask in order to take advantage of eventual bark skin. And then last, I'll just go over some of the upgrades we can make as we're progressing through the Atlas. I didn't go too far in this build because there's a lot of flexibility and uncertainty in terms of how far we're going to actually be able to take the build without being super juiced in terms of the currency. Yeah, so that's about it. If you have any questions, feel free to leave the comments. Again, I do not know how good this is. I'll probably post a follow-up video similar to what I did with the Lightning Tendrils build, just to give you guys an idea of whether or not this was a good idea and how good it is, how good any sort of combination of tinctures are, whether or not maybe they're hiding some sort of single target power Siphon transfigured gem, who knows. Either way, I'm still excited to play the upcoming league, and I hope you are too. So, see you next time.